The time to have a plan is before something happens. Safety plans can include actions like the following. Identify your boundaries. Practice saying no with a clear and forceful voice. Defend your boundaries even with the smallest violation. Speak up if a relationship with a friend, peer, or adult begins to change and move in directions that make you uncomfortable. Trust your feelings. Say no if you find yourself doing things you do not feel right about and find a way to exit the situation. Recognize that you have a right to stop someone from doing something to you, even if you allowed the behavior to happen before. If you are going out, know everyone you are going out with. Know where you are going before you leave to go out. Identify ways of physically exiting a space once you arrive. Have a buddy and agree on a signal to alert them that you need help. If you are drinking, pour your own drink and monitor how intoxicated you are becoming. Have a backup plan in case your initial plan does not work. For more information, call the Alliance at 699-0272 or find us on the web at www.asalliance.co.
Rates of sexual violence against youth aged 12 to 18 are very high. Nationally, about 10 million girls and 790,000 boys under the age of 18 have experienced either rape or attempted rape. Experiencing sexual violence as a child or teen makes it more likely the survivor will experience re-victimization in adulthood. 1 out of 3 victims of rape experienced their first rape between ages 11 to 17. "10% of girls were victimized by a stranger, while 44% of girls were victimized by someone they know. 28% of girls were victimized by a family member, 29% of girls were victimized by a current or former intimate partner. Over 35% of boys were made to victimize someone else by an acquaintance. Young people who experience sexual violence may experience poor academic performance, sexual risk-taking behavior, pregnancy, and self-harm. Teens who experience sexual violence may suffer from mental health conditions such as post-traumatic stress disorder, substance abuse, eating disorders, low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, and they may even consider or attempt suicide. If you or someone you know are a teen who has experienced sexual violence, contact the American Samoa Alliance Against Domestic and Sexual Violence at www.asalliance.co or call 684-699-0272.
Teen dating violence. Teen dating violence is the physical or sexual abuse within a dating relationship. This girl was abused by her partner. She was hurt physically and helpless. There is no one she could turn to. She was all alone. She didn't have the confidence to speak up for herself. So please, speak up and take a stand. Stop teen dating violence and break the silence. With any questions, please call American Alliance 699-0272 and Blue Sky 699-2759. Thank you for watching.
Dude, can I tell you something? I'm really scared just thinking about it. Last night at the club, some guy just kept on touching me.
Well, what were you even wearing?
Why? I was just wearing these shorts and a low-cut t-shirt that I got for my birthday.
You're blaming the guy when you're dressed like that? You basically invited him. That's why you shouldn't have dressed that way. Maybe you just drank too much and gave him mixed signals or something. Did you even try to stop him? See, this is why you shouldn't go out clubbing. Men can't control their urges.
She was at the wrong place, at the wrong time, wearing the wrong clothes. How about now? Victim blaming is not advice.
Blame the perpetrators.
Support our victims.
Change minds to save lives.
To learn more about victim blaming, register using the QR code below to join us on Zoom for our Youth Virtual Summit on Thursday, July 27, 2023, from 9 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. It's free to join. You will learn tools to help end victim blaming, understand what victim blaming looks like in our community, and how it promotes rape culture. Because survivors deserve our support. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our 2023 Virtual Youth Summit, Understanding Victim Blaming, She Said, He Said, They Said. I am your co-host, Sharina Lacey Manu, and I, along with my colleague, Andrea Amor de Guzman, will be guiding everyone throughout this program. We would also like to acknowledge Ms. Soona Oli Oli Loto Mawia Tuatasi and her contribution to this summit. She was one of our members for the summer internship program, but due to unforeseen circumstances, she is not able to join us today. Now, this discussion aims to address victim blaming in our culture and our community, highlighting its harmful effects and changing mindsets to support victims and prevent future incidents. Just like any other events or conferences, meetings, we always begin with the prayer. Therefore, we have Ms. Saono Aglo Enesi delivering to us through a form of poem of prayer to ask the Lord for the strength to please keep us all awake for these 2 straight hours of talking. Ms. Enesi is a member of a Pentecostal church that meets in the Voice of Christ Revival Center, where she serves as their youth leader. Oh, and just a reminder, folks, to please keep your mics muted during the presentations and or when someone is speaking. Thank you. Ms. Saono, please deliver unto us your spoken word.
Hi, everybody. I don't know if you guys can everybody hear me? Okay. So just before I can recite what I've written down for today, is it okay if we can all close our eyes for a quick prayer? Okay, let us pray. We want to thank you, and Father, for gathering us today on this virtual meeting, Lord, for to be aware for victim blaming. We ask you, Jesus, that you would have the participants to have knowledge and wisdom, Father, and understanding, Father, for this program. And I pray, Jesus, that you would guide us, Lord. Help us, Father, to listen with clear ears and a clear mindset, Father, so that we can learn new things. And I pray, Jesus, that you continue to have your way with us. We give you all the glory, honor, praise in your name. We pray. Amen. Here's a spoken word that I have written just a few days ago, and I'm going to say it right now. Victim blaming. What a terrible thing to do to someone who is hurt. Accusations and ignorant judgment bring sorrow and sadness at birth. To the victim, who is not at fault for the man or woman with no self-control, no thought that their violent actions can bring destruction and kill a precious soul. Where are the helpers of the oppressed? Where are the words to bring back peace and rest? He said, she said, they said, shh. Be careful with your words, for out of the tongue there is power of life or death. Silence the victim blaming and make loud the voices of the victims crying to be heard. Let us be understanding. Let us be open to learning. Let us be slow to speak first and seek ways on how we can serve. Has not the Lord our God in heaven teach us these things? To be kind, patient, humble, and meek. The victims, the misunderstood, the ones taken advantage of, this is what they seek. To be safe, to be secure, to have calmness in their minds, begging, please, help me. I say a prayer for those whose innocence was stripped away. I say a prayer for them to break the bondage and bring the demons under their feet in Jesus' name. I pray for you that have been hurt to take these words written and read and listen, that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Oh, how hard it must be, the trauma you endured and the awful memories that the past brings. I stand my ground to humbly say sorry for the victim blaming and reckless scorning from the very people who rush to blame you instead of hearing your story. Again, let us be kind, patient, gentle, humble, and meek, for these are the things our brothers, sisters, and friends who are victims hope to receive. Thank you. I would now like to give it over to our host, Rena.
Thank you, Ono, for that wonderful piece you have brought for us today. Moving on, we will now begin our wellness. Wellness is a vital part of the work we do here at the Alliance. In order to provide the support needed for others, we need to be able to support ourselves by maintaining our overall well-being. And for our wellness today, we have Andrea to lead us.
Good morning, everyone. I will be guiding you all through a wellness exercise that will help you refocus your energy. Before we get into it, there's a gesture I'd like everyone to do during this wellness. I'll say or ask you to tap your fingers together, like so. Now we're going to start our mindfulness exercise by placing ourselves in a comfortable position. Make sure you feel grounded by placing your feet flat against the floor. Feel comfortable and warm through sitting in any position you wish. Last but not the least, allow yourself to trust me to guide you through this exercise. Now trust in me by following my voice and close your eyes. I'll give everyone a moment. Now that we've grounded ourselves, got into a comfortable position, and you've given me your complete trust, let's go ahead and start by taking a few deep breaths in. Slowly take a deep breath in, hold it, and exhale. Again, take a deep breath in and hold it, exhale. Now this next breath should feel a little different, as I want you to inhale to the point your chest expands, as if you're taking a deep breath in before taking a dive. And when you exhale all the stress and worries you have, along with that carbon dioxide. And now inhale, hold it, and exhale. Very well. Now slowly go back to soft breaths. Start tapping your fingers together. Tapping your fingers together will help tap all your worries away. Tap your fingers through any pace that brings you comfort. Now, as you are breathing and tapping, I'd like to share some kind words with you to start our day off. You are beautiful. You are smart. You are kind. You are important. It's okay to make mistakes, for we all learn from them. But I just wanted to remind you that you are greatness. You are empowered. You're going to do great things today. If you need a break, take it. If you need to breathe, do it. Again, you are beautiful. You are smart. You are kind. And you are important. Now slowly lower your hands onto your lap or wherever you feel comfortable, and gradually open your eyes. Take one more deep breath in and out. Thank you everyone for allowing me to guide you all throughout this mindfulness exercise. I hope this wellness helped everyone focus their energy as we start this virtual youth summit. You all did a great job. Now, I'd like to take this time to go ahead and introduce our welcoming remarks. The Executive Director of the American Samoa Alliance Against Domestic and Sexual Violence, Ms. Jennifer Tofayono.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I'm so appreciative to be in this space. On behalf of our chairwoman, Shani Masoli, the Alliance Board of Directors, and the Alliance team, I thank you all for attending this summit, and I welcome you into our space. I've been reading a book called The Art of Community, The 7 Principles of Belonging by Charles Vogel. And I chose this book because in the title, that word belonging, it just struck a chord in me, because I really believe that in communities, we all want to belong. And I want to share what stood out with me as I was reading. The author describes community as a group of individuals who share a mutual concern for one another's welfare. I care about you. That's different from sharing same interests and living in close proximity, having neighbors, because ideas can change, neighbors can change, and many times, unfortunately, we're unaware of those that reside or exist next to us, and that's not community. So how do we create communities? Are these spaces here at the Alliance? One way is to remember the shared values. We look for people that believe in the same things as us, that want to support the same ideas as us. And this can look like our advocates. They can be those that work with our domestic and sexual violence victims. This can be our Department of Human Health Social Services, the police station. You are part of our community. because we're all here to learn how to eliminate domestic violence, sexual violence, and dating violence and stalking. We're all here to learn how to respond differently, building resilience and strengthening our capacity to learn. Communities work to strengthen capacity. And if we unpack that, for communities, this means focusing on enabling all members of the community to develop skills and competencies. We have to take greater control of not only my life, but helping others to do that. And that includes the poorest and those that are the most disadvantaged. Our work is to encourage our local people to act on local issues, such as domestic violence and sexual assault, building and connecting with communities. But we know we can't do this alone. One way we do this is through our summer internship program. For the past 3 years, the Alliance has supported a summer internship program. I believe in our youth, and I know that they are the pathway to our future. And we need to ensure that we give them the skills and the dialogue to build stronger communities, to perpetuate the work and create safe spaces. That means our kids need real work experience. The interns that we hire, they learn about domestic and sexual violence. They're taught how to research and gain knowledge. They're asked to work together to develop a summit such as this. The interns participated in a facilitation workshop where they learned how to guide these discussions for workshops. They learn to network as they meet with many people in the field. They connect with people to be speakers and ask questions. They grow outside of their environment and their schools, and they continue to learn to compete. Because of the process of applying for internships, you have to compete. I want to thank our 3 interns this year, Andrea A. De Guzman, Cherry Nalay or Lay Simanu, So'o Atuatasi, for creating and providing this space with the support of our training coordinator, Judy Matautia, and media coordinator, Marilyn Ho Ching. What you will participate in today was done with careful planning and many discussions. I am so, so proud of each of our interns and the work that we do. It is my hope that you'll take all of what our interns have planned for this workshop and bring that into your mind, your body, and soul. Help us to make change by taking all that you've learned and sharing it with your community. So once again, on behalf of the board of directors, myself and the entire Alliance team, fa'afitaitele for joining us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Jennifer, for starting us off. Moving along, we now have Mr. Patrick Tia Reed as our keynote speaker. He currently holds a position in the American Samoa government as their public policy advisor. Additionally, he is also the chairman of the American Samoa Democratic Party. And lastly, he is the founder of a locally registered business whose goal is to have an impact on the neighborhood. And now for today, Mr. Reed will be explaining to us the basics of what victim blaming is. And again, ladies and gents, please be sure to have your mics muted during the presentations. Mr. Reed, the panel is all yours, sir.
Thank you so much for the introduction. So before I go on, I just wanted to issue a disclaimer here that some of the content in this presentation may be triggering and contain some sensitive or graphic language or images. A little bit about myself. I know she introduced me in the beginning. Thank you so much for that introduction. Again, I'm the public policy advisor with the Office of the Governor. And outside of my government work, I like to consider myself a community volunteer or an organizer, at least for the past 10 years. I founded a nonprofit when I was a grad student to really engage in different community service projects. We've done things like coastal cleanups and other drives, food and clothes drives. I'm also involved with my Leone High School Alumni Association, Go Lions. And I'm also the chair of the American Samoa Democratic Party and an officer with the Tennis Association. So Thanks for the wellness activity. I find it so important these days to really incorporate that type of stuff into our routines. And outside of all of these, I guess titles, you'd say I'm also a son, a brother, and nephew to many tough women leaders. Having grown up and through their example, I've really been able to see a lot of the things that they go through as women leaders, and some of the injustices or double standards that they face simply just for being women. So it's a big honor here to speak to you guys. And I also found this picture from a few years ago as I was doing my research on this topic, and it was a demonstration, I believe, organized by the Alliance after an incident that took place, a big domestic violence incident that took place. And I just remember reading about this specific incident and just being so angry and wanting to do something. And it was the Alliance that actually helped plan this demonstration. So I'm super thankful for the Alliance and all the work that they do, the courage that they have to really speak on issues that are not easy to speak about. Especially on islands like ours that are very small, right? And it's difficult to kind of address these types of issues. So again, thank you to the organizers and all of the interns who reached out. And I'll be honest, I was a bit hesitant about taking on this opportunity because one, I didn't feel qualified. I'm not a woman. I don't think I'm not a victim of sexual assault or domestic violence. But after some thought, I figured if I can leave someone, at least one person with some new knowledge that they didn't have before this, then I would feel good about myself. So again, thank you. That was a bit of a long introduction, but I felt like I had to address those. But going on to the topic that we're all here to learn about, what is victim blaming? And this is a definition that I felt was a good one. There were a lot of definitions as I was going through the internet. I had to turn on my teacher hat here and really, for the last few weeks, I really just immersed myself in a lot of different stuff. I read an entire book in a few months. I looked up different articles, and this was a definition that I felt was a little bit more complete than others. And it reads, victim blaming can be defined as someone saying, implying, or treating a person who experienced harmful or abusive behavior, such as a survivor of sexual violence, like it was a result of something that they did or said, instead of placing the responsibility where it belongs, on the person who harmed them. Which sounds really crazy, but we don't realize how actually common this is. So what does victim blaming look like? I listed some of the different types of statements or questions that kind of lend itself to victim blaming. Things like, what were they doing out so late? How much were they drinking? Were they looking for trouble? Where were their parents? Why didn't she fight back? Was she promiscuous? What was she wearing? She or he is not so innocent. Why didn't she leave him? What took her so long to report it? And he or she was asking for it. And I think one of the videos in the beginning also kind of touched on victim blaming and the type of actions that people take that put the focus more on the actual victim rather than the person who committed the offense or the crime, right? And which led me to other questions. I wondered why is it that we place the blame on victims? And there were different theories. And one of them that I came across, there were so many different theories in terms of the psychology of victim blaming. And one of them was the positive assumptive worldview, which is a general belief that the world is generally a good place, right? That only good things happen to good people. I'm definitely someone that likes to believe that, and I'm sure many of us do too, right? It's where we come up with these quotes and phrases that say what goes around comes around. That's just good or bad karma, right? And it's also reinforced by a lot of our religious beliefs. It's this belief that, when bad things happen to good people, so I mean, in the event that, bad things happen to good people, this kind of threatens this belief that we have, right? And unfortunately, the world that we live in, sometimes bad things also happen to good people. They happen every day. People make choices every day, and some of those choices are bad choices to people that didn't deserve them. So this was a little bit on the psychology. There's tons of different theories out there, but this is one that I felt was important to share. And the type of victim blaming that we're talking about in today's summit is concerning sexual assault. So as I was doing my research for the last few weeks, I spent the last few weeks just researching so many different articles. I came across a story from 2015 of a sexual assault that took place on the Stanford campus of a female victim who was raped, while unconscious outside of a dumpster. Two students were riding their bikes and happened to witness what was happening and they chased and apprehended the male perpetrator until the cops arrived. And mind you, this is while the victim was still unconscious, just passed out cold, had no idea what was happening to her. And this was the perpetrator. His name was Brock Turner. I don't know, you guys might be still too young, but I remember these pictures going viral around the time that the incident happened, specifically the one on the bottom right. It was a 19-year-old white male who was a freshman at Stanford University, right? Stanford is an Ivy League. You know, things aren't supposed to happen at places like Stanford. He was a star university swimmer, an Olympics contender, and had a promising life ahead of him. These are some of the different adjectives that I came across as I remember this incident, right? And then we come to the victim, who was then known as Emily Doe, right? She had no identity, of course, to protect her, but we see a lot of the imagery that was happening online at the time to kind of describe Emily Doe as she was known. She was mysterious. She passed out behind a dumpster. She was drunk. She was unconscious. And we learned that the victim actually separated herself from this identity that was created for her, Emily Doe, through the media, because of the daily trauma that she faced, and even the victim blaming that she faced after she had immediately suffered the assault. So long story short, the outcome of the trial, before the judge issued the sentence to Brock Turner, Emily Doe, as she was known, read this victim impact statement that went viral and was read tens of millions of times around the world and translated into many languages. I guess her story just really resonated with so many victims around the world, and how she faced victim blaming in her personal life through so many different ways, through the media, through the ways in which law enforcement investigated the situation. Even throughout her entire case, she felt like she was being blamed for something that happened to her. He was eventually convicted in 2016 of 3 counts of felony sexual assault and was sentenced to 6 months and released for good behavior after only serving 3 months. So this eventually caused a huge backlash as well. They felt like the sentence that he received was very lenient. It wasn't deserving of the crime that he committed and the trauma that she faced. Well, a silver lining, I guess you would say, was that she, 4 years after the assault happened, she ended up releasing a book called Know My Name, a memoir by Chanel Miller. Emily Doe now became known as Chanel Miller. She came into her own. She started speaking about her story and really fully immersed herself into her own narrative. And it talks about, the entire book was about 300 pages. I read it in a couple of days. It talks about the victim blaming that she experienced throughout her sexual assault, from the moment her case was investigated, throughout the entire trial, which took about a year or so. The way the media even portrayed her, the online comments, right? We live in a day of internet where it's almost unavoidable, the comments that she received from the publicity of the case. And what's beautiful about this is how she was finally able to claim her narrative and tell her story, rather than everyone else having these stories and comments and perspectives about something that happened to her that she dealt with. And it talked about how the victim blaming was so pervasive and so heavy on her that there were many moments where even she became so self-conscious. She even questioned her own innocence and the fact that she was a victim and her own worth. So I found it a really powerful story. It wasn't one of those happy ending fairy tale stories. It was a real story. And it talked about really how she turned this horrible circumstance that happened to her, that she was unconscious and she doesn't even remember, that happened to her. And she was able to use her talents, her writing, her art, and to really own her own story. So I found a little clip that actually was accompanied with this book that she wrote that was a great display of her talents.
It happened when I was 22, on the cusp of my adulthood. When you are assaulted, an identity is given to you, It threatens to swallow up everything you plan to do and be. I became Emily Doe. Assault teaches you to shrink, makes you afraid to exist. Shame, really, can kill you. Unconscious, stupid, dumpster, swimmer, Stanford, half naked, nameless, nobody. Nobody wants to be defined by the worst thing that's happened to them. I feared those words would follow me forever, so I did not speak. In court, the judge used words like moderate, less serious, to describe the crime. I remember the trial. The defense attorney stood before the jury and said, "Chanel knows how you get in blackouts. You drink a lot of alcohol, and that's what she did this night, and many other nights, to be honest." So I wrote a victim impact statement, 12 pages. I read it at the sentencing, straight to the man who hurt me. "You don't know me, but you've been inside me. Fingers had been jabbed inside me. My bare skin and head had been rubbing against me. Who has been irreversibly hurt behind a dumpster, waiting to figure out if I was worth something." But the judge did not hear me. When I released the statement, something else happened.
It's forever changed the way I carry myself, the way I believe. You can't be silenced.
The world breathed life into my words. I spent all this time absorbing, listening to their voices until I understood. Chanel knows how you get in blackouts. Chanel also knows how to write. And Chanel knows how to draw. Survivors will not be limited, labeled, boxed in, oppressed. We will not be isolated. We have had enough. Enough of the shame, diminishment, the disbelief, enough loneliness. Look at all this togetherness. Look out for one another. Seek whatever you wish to be in life. Speak up when they try to silence you. Stand up when they shove you down. No one gets to define you. You do. You do. My name is Chanel, and I am with you.
Super powerful, right? I thought that was a great summary of the book. It was a long book. I highly recommend it to you guys. And in closing, before I wrap up, sorry, I hope it didn't take up too much time, but this is my challenge to you all. Really expand your knowledge. There's so many online resources, books, and documentaries about stories such as these that you can really learn and put these kind of concepts right into stories. Read and listen to the stories of victims like Chanel Miller. There's other people like Amanda Nguyen who are huge activists in this space. Be conscious of your own actions, right? We can show compassion and empathy, identify and unlearn the ways that you may be victim blaming. And shift the focus, remember, on the perpetrator and not the victim. And then lastly, find ways to take action. That could be volunteering at the Alliance, like some of these interns are doing. Being brave in your own communities. That could mean your church community, your village, your schools and workplaces. talk to your senators or representatives if there's legislation that you're interested in or you think that we could benefit from here. And then lastly, never underestimate the power that one person's story can make. Stories like Chanel Miller's or other people like Amanda Nguyen, people who went through these horrible circumstances and situations and were able to turn them into triumph in ways that they could positively impact the world. And really, that's the entire presentation. I know it was 10 minutes that I had to squeeze this all in, so I hope I was able to share some of the things that I learned in the past few weeks. So thank you for your.
Thank you so much, Mr. Reed, for introducing our topic for today. Now, as we are all currently trying to soak in that information, why don't we go ahead and take a 5-minute break? Feel free to relax or get some water into your system, but please don't forget to be back as we will continue our program. Or if you prefer, you could stick around and check out the PSA videos we'll run through. And with that, we'll see each other in 5.
Domestic violence occurs in the home, so preventing domestic violence begins in the home with the family or ainga. Domestic violence is defined as a pattern of abusive behavior in any relationship that is used by one partner to gain power and control over another intimate partner. It can be physical, sexual, emotional, economic, or psychological actions or threats of actions. More than 15 million children in the U.S. live in homes in which domestic violence has happened at least once.
Resiliency is the ability to bounce back from difficult events in life. Victims of domestic violence have shown that they can survive and even thrive despite their traumatic experiences. To build resiliency, it's important that you don't dwell on negative thinking. Focusing on negative thoughts makes it difficult to see the solution because you're dwelling on the problem and it can keep you stuck in the same place. When those negative feelings come, remember to shift your thinking to something positive. Think of something you can look forward to, like going to the beach or watching a sunset. You can also go for a walk to give your brain a break from negative thinking. Take action by creating a goal for yourself and make a plan to get it done. If needed, call your friends or family to help focus on the chore. When focused, you can accomplish even the smallest task, and when you add up all the small tasks, you realize you can take care of the bigger ones too. Be optimistic and remember that circumstances can change. Even during the most difficult times, there are good things to look forward to. Resilience builds character, and character gives hope. And when you're hopeful, you keep moving in the right direction.
Are you living with domestic abuse? Do you need support, advice, or safe and secure accommodation? These services are available to you today through Catholic Social Services and the Department of Human Social Services. For Catholic Social Services, call 684-699-5683 or email cssfatuainga@yahoo.com. For Department of Human Social Services, call 684-633-1571, 1572, or 1573. If you are in an emergency situation, call 911. Abuse protection orders and harassment prevention orders are available if you need them. For additional free resources and information, contact the Alliance at 699-0272 or on the web at www.asalliance.co.
No one likes awkward silence, but it can do a lot of good. Break through the silence by asking important questions like these. I notice you haven't been yourself lately. Is something up? How are you? Are you okay? Is there anything you want to talk about? Or you can reassure them with statements like these. I just want to know how you're feeling. Listen, even if you don't know what to say, I'm here to talk about what you're going through. I just want you to know I'm here. I've got your back. When you want to talk, I'm here. Reach out to a friend who might be struggling with thoughts of suicide. It doesn't matter how you ask.